We'll say Barakatah Yahweh. Barakatah Yahweh Shai, which means bless the name of Yahweh, which is the most high, the highest. Alright. Bless the name of the Son. He saves. Right? And get infinite praise, infinite honor, and infinite glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakahakodash. We give double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well and do well. To the elder apostles, bishops in Connecticut, the bishops, the preachers, the teachers, the evangelists, and the four winds, preaching in truth and sincerity, risking your lives more now than ever, the hopeful elect, the elect, Shalom. To the Israelite foreigners, whose phenotype may look like another nation, but bloodline goes back to Israel through your father and have come back to the fold, Shalom. To sisters, you Akhwathium, who listen and learn under your husband, which is your spiritual leader, with meekness and with silence. This your brother Ram Yehawada with the lesson. Lord willing, it be edifying to the Lord's elect, to his sheep and his lambs.
From crime, bloodshed, bedlam, and squalor. And I'm announcing a historic action to rescue our nation's capital from crime, bloodshed, bedlam, and squalor, and worse. This is Liberation Day in D.C., and we're going to take our capital back. We're taking it back. Under the authorities vested in me as the President of the United States, I'm officially invoking Section 740 of the District of Columbia Home Rule Act. You know what that is? And placing the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department under direct federal control, and you'll be meeting the people that will be directly involved with that. Very good people, but they're tough, and they know what's happening. They've done it before. In addition, I'm deploying the National Guard to help reestablish law, order, and public safety in Washington, D.C., and they're going to be allowed to do their job properly. And you people are victims of it, too. You know, you're reporters, and I understand a lot of you tend to be on the liberal side, but you don't want to get mugged and raped and shot and killed. And you all know people and friends of yours that happened. And so you can be anything you want, but you want to have safety in the streets. You want to be able to leave your apartment or your house where you live and feel safe and go into a store to buy a newspaper or buy something. And you don't have that now. I'm announcing.
D.C. is now under military occupation, with Trump saying he's coming for Chicago and New York next, which has prompted many Americans to say these are the moves of a dictator. Now, as far as what we're seeing, he's activated 800 National Guard soldiers to occupy D.C. He's also taken control over the D.C. Metropolitan Police. You've got Trump saying that he'll be targeting homeless people and what he called bloodthirsty criminals. Trump also saying if you do so much as touch or even think about destroying a statue or monument in Washington, D.C., you go to jail for 10 years. Many saying this is the first time a U.S. president has advocated for jailing Americans for simply thinking and having thoughts. You also had Trump saying that D.C. is like Baghdad, but also keep in mind crime's actually down in D.C. In fact, not only has it been down for 2 years, crime's been going down across the United States for 2 years now. I mean, arguably, if crime increased in D.C. in 2025, it would be because he moved there. And as far as what we're seeing now, you have many saying, just like he did in Los Angeles, you have Trump creating a fake crisis, and now he's seeking to solve his fake crisis by using the military on civilians. All while you have Governor J.B. Pritzker responding to Trump's threats to Chicago, saying, let's not lie to the public. You and I both know you have no authority to take over Chicago. By the way, where are the Epstein files? And that is Governor Gavin Newsom saying he was just getting warmed up in Los Angeles. He will gaslight his way into militarizing any city he wants in America. This is what dictators do, right? All of this is you had Dan Carlin, the host of the largest history podcast in the world, saying today. Those of you who don't know what authoritarianism looks like, this is it. And this isn't partisan. This is the time for choosing. Do you support the constitutional republic or this one person? If you don't see it, it's either because you are so blinded by your own partisanship and brainwashing, or it's because you've wanted a dictator all along. But hey, while you can, follow to stay in the loop. DC is now...
It's our capital city. It is more violent than Baghdad. It is more violent than parts of Ethiopia, parts of many of the most dangerous places in the world.
Excuse me, Mr. Clean, you fucking urinal cake? Have you ever been to Baghdad? Because I fucking have. Let me ask you a question. When is the last time you've seen a rocket strike in D.C.? When is the last time you found an IED inside of a dead dog on the side of the road in Washington, D.C.? When's the last time you've seen a suicide bomber run into a convenience store and fucking level the place? Probably never, because Washington, D.C. is not the most dangerous place in the world. And for you to compare it to the actual most dangerous places in the world is fucking disgraceful, and you're taking away from all the victims and the people who have to live in that nightmarish bullshit on a daily basis. I'm so fucking tired of this guy and this administration. But this fucking guy in particular, fuck him.
I warned you throughout last year that these days would come if people help re-elect Donald Trump. Now, why am I saying this? Because Trump has declared war on Black America. What else is it when he orders the military to provide resources to law enforcement and then unleashes those cops and the National Guard into the blackest city in America? And then he promises to unleash them also in other black cities in America. And we know they're coming into black neighborhoods because Trump said that blacks commit most of the crime in this country, which isn't true. And he said that to thunderous applause in a black Detroit church. So, hello stop and frisk, and bye-bye due process. Bye-bye equal protection. Bye-bye Fourth Amendment. Bye-bye reasonable suspicion, probable cause, see you later, and so forth. I say this because I've been a practicing criminal defense and civil rights attorney for almost 2 decades. And I know what's going on. I know what's coming. Now, to be good for my colleagues and me to have this beefed up law enforcement. But here's the thing. Crime has been on a sharp downward turn since the 1990s. There's no need for militarized cops, but there is a need for some of the very programs that Trump got rid of in order to pass his big ugly bill. Specifically, there's a need for early childhood education. There's a need for Head Start. There's a need to increase the federal minimum wage. There's a need to increase affordable housing. We need him to stop firing black women employees in D.C. I mean, think about that. He's firing so many black women in the federal government that unemployment for black women is rising, and for black people generally. Then he want to send militarized cops into our neighborhoods at our sons. I mean, that is crazy. In fact, what this is, to be exact, is authoritarianism imposing fascism to protect white supremacy. Once again, this is authoritarianism imposing fascism in order to protect white supremacy. And oh yeah, the pro-black imposters who helped Trump get reelected is now trying to sound outraged that he's doing this to DC. But he wouldn't be doing this, perhaps, if they hadn't told so many people to either vote for Trump or vote the couch. That is why they are pro-black imposters. Remember.
Yeah, so this is Ezekiel chapter 21, verse 1 at the top. This is a parable of the sword of the Lord, right? And then this one says the sword, Yahweh's sword of judgment, right? Right? So this is basically the sword of Yahweh, right? It's a parable about it. And it says, and the word of Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakakwadash, came unto me, saying, all right, then this message came to me from Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Son of man, set thy face against Jerusalem and drop thy word, right? You know, showing you that the Lord is a you know, like a so-called black man. You know, he says, I'm gonna drop my word on you, right? Like a rapper, you know, but drop the beat. Let me drop this on him, right? Drop thy word towards the holy place and prophesied against the land of Israel. My son of man, turn and face Jerusalem and prophesied against Israel and her sanctuaries, right? All the things that you call holy and great, you know, so-called black culture, Native American culture, so-called Mexican culture, the things that you so-called hold sacred, Christianity and Catholicism, Catholic, right? You know, the madness of America and any other place where you jakes are at, but the main place is here, Babylon the Great, because that's just where it's all going to come in at, and say to the land of Israel, right, and where people before place, right, you so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Indians, tell her this is what Yahweh say, Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai say, I am your enemy. See, and see, the Lord is now going to come in against you Israelites, right? It says, I am your enemy, O Israel. I am about to unleash my sword, right? And say to the land of Israel, right, and where people before place, thus saith Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, behold, which means feast your eyes, look, pay attention, I am against thee, and will draw forth my sword out of his sheath, and will cut off from thee the righteous and the wicked, right? And so you have to understand the time that we're living in, man. And that's the time that we're living in. The Lord is going to cut off the righteous and the wicked, right, of our people, right? Because ultimately this is the Lord's movie, right? At the end of the day, right? I'm going to unleash my sword to destroy your people, right? You so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Indians, right? The righteous and the wicked alike, right? Because these are the time that's actually going to ensue, right? That's what's going to happen, you know? And let's see. Yeah, I'll go ahead and go this verse right here too. It says, see then that I will cut off from thee the righteous and the wicked. Wherefore shall my sword go forth out of his sheath against all flesh, from the south to the north, right? So the Lord's going to get after the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. You so-called Negroes, West Indies, Haitians, the southern kingdom, all the way to the northern kingdom, the so-called Puerto Ricans, Native Americans, Mexicans, Colombians, right? All right. All you, natives of America, right? Some of you speak Spanish, some of you speak English, some of you speak Portuguese, whatever. But the thing is, the Lord is going to come against you, right? And the wicked and the righteous are going to get cut off, right? And there's nothing new under the sun, right? Because these are things that happen from old. All the times we went into captivity, and it's no different now, right? Because the sword of the Lord is the self-proclaimed so-called white man, right? Right. So that's what the parable of the sword, right? And the Lord said that He's going to send His sword against Israel, right? Right, and against the righteous and the wicked, right? So it says this is the Lord's, more understanding to the parable of the sword, right? Psalm 17 and 13, arise, O Yahweh, right? Disappoint him, see, and that's the prayer of the elect. Disappoint him and cast him down, right? Because that's the thing that's about to happen, right? Esau is getting removed out of his place. He is being cast down as we speak. His kingdom is constantly falling apart, right? And he's trying to hold on to it by bringing in the digital age, right? Digital totalitarianism, right? Digital aristocrats, right? Because this is all about the rich, making everyone poor. They're going to be a middle class, right? No middle class, right? It's about the aristocrats. Now they're going to be digital aristocrats, right? And but the prayers of the righteous, right? For the elect, it says, disappoint him and cast him down. Deliver my soul from the wicked, right? Which that's Esau, Edom, right? Right, the ones who rule the world, which is thy sword. For men which are thy hand, right? The left hand of the Lord. These men are used. So it just said that the parable of the sword, and right here is telling you that the wicked right? And the earth is given into the hands of the wicked, right? Job 9:24, the earth is given into the hands of the wicked, right? For men which are thy hand, O power, from men of the world, right? The earth is given to the hands of the wicked. So the men of the world, the rulers of the world, right? Which have their portion in this life because they're ruling. They have their blessing. This is their heaven. This is their rulership. They have their portion in this life, and whose bellies thou fillest with the hidden treasure. So they basically, that's what they're doing. It tells you that they would take the fatness of the earth by the sword, and they take the hidden treasure. They go around the world, and whenever they find some type of mineral find, next thing you know, Esau's over there getting the minerals out of the land, right? Stealing the oil, the diamonds, the gold, the uranium, whatever it is of those people, and then leave those people poor after you steal it, after you take it, because it's the treasures of the world, and they feel like it belongs to them. Well, the earth is given into the hands of the wicked, right? They are filled with the children. They're full of children, like, and leave the rest of their substance to their babes. See, and that's part of white supremacy, making sure that it's carried on to their next generations, right? The wealth, right? There's a thing called old money, right, versus new money, right? And even those who have new money, they plan on wiping you out, even if you are a so-called millionaire, and even so-called billionaires. They want only the old aristocrats to be in charge. Those people have that old money from conquering in the around the 1500s, who have money, who's been rich since the 1500s, right? Right. So I'm here. This is Psalms 17 and 13, the transliteration, and I'm gonna go to the sword because basically we're dealing with the parable of the sword, right? So break that sword down a little bit more, right?
Strong's H 2719. Cherev.
Herif, right? And it goes into what? No, sword, knife, tool for cutting, right? So we know basically like a killing instrument, right? But then it's also what? A tool, right? So you don't always have to kill. You can use it as a tool, a fear tactic, so to speak. But I mean, there are going to be many people that die. Lots and lots of people are going to die, because that's what the Lord said is going to happen. But just to go into a little bit more, it's not just killing people, right? It's
Strong's H 2717. Charev. Second entry. Charev.
Right. That's how you say it, and it basically means to be waste, lay waste, make desolate, be in ruin, right? And ruin don't mean that it's all destroyed, right? Ruin, a lot of times it gets worse within time. So that's basically part of the thing of the sword. So a lot of people are going to die, but to be waste, be desolate, right? To be made desolate. Where'd it go? Oh, right here. It says decayeth, right? So you dry up, desolate, slay, right? Which is there. A lot of people are going to die, but then there's a thing called what? Decay, right? Yeah, see right here, because we're trying to get to understand about this sword and what they're going to do, right? It says this AI overview. Decayeth is an archaic, which is like an ancient form of speaking from the word decay, meaning to gradually decline, right? See, it's going to gradually decline what your because you're used to having rights, right, as a citizen. So you're going to rapidly decline your ability to operate as, you know, as free as you used to, right? Right? And then people are going to get used to being able to be like that, right? Right? Gradualism, so to speak, right? It's a form of gradualism. And then people basically, they accept the status quo, right? Deteriorate, right? Deteriorate the you know, the mentality, you know, of you got so-called rights, civil rights. You're proud to be an American. The American system that you have been accustomed to. So that's part of the sword also. I mean, they are going to kill a lot of people, but part of the sword also is to deteriorate. It says in modern English, it is typically replaced by decays. It signifies a process of breaking down, losing strength. See, and that's ultimately what's going to happen. You're going to lose the strength, right? Which this part of this of making you lose strength is what there's not going to be any food. So if you can't eat, it's hard for you to fight. So they got you on all sides. So now that the supply chain is kind of damaged, and then I guess he just put another 90-day hold off on the tariffs for China, but that's so they can implement this. So you're gonna kind of feel like everything's somewhat normal for now, but in about 3 months, which is gonna be like the winter, right? And that's what the Lord said. Pray that your flight be not in the winter. But hey, they're recognizing that the best time for them to hit people is in the winter, right? Because I did a lesson, I believe it was yesterday, and the lady did the thing about the groceries, and she was saying America's good as far as the groceries now, because the groceries that they're using now are pretty much from the U.S. You know, some are from other places, but the U.S. But in the winter, because of the regulations and things they did for the farms, America is not going to have any crops for the winter, because normally those crops come from Mexico and from Canada, which Trump just put all sorts of manner of tariffs on those countries, which at one point in time never had tariffs ever. They're our closest allies. Why would you ever put tariffs on them? But it's for this, because if you can't eat, it's hard for you to fight, right? So it's part of a declining it, and a process of a breaking down, losing strength. So you're gonna end up losing a lot of strength, becoming damaged over time. So over time, the part of the sword is to break you down. It's not necessarily they're gonna just kill everybody, but there's gonna be a fair amount of people that's gonna die, because people are not gonna stand for you. You're so used to being free, right? Give me freedom or give me death, and that's what a lot of people are gonna experience. That you're gonna be firsthand to see who's really about that type of jargon. Let's see if they live up to that, right? So we can know who the wicked is. It says Job 9:24, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covered the faces of the judges, right? And the true judges are the Israelites, right? So when you go anywhere in the world where there were monuments and paintings of the Israelites, most places whitewashed them and covered them up with iconoclasm, right? And there's only pretty much one place, no, maybe several other places, but the one place we know for sure, Russia, still have a lot of those figures in its original form, which he displayed them, showing you that there's no such thing as black people, right? Israelites, but who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ is a dark-skinned man with woolly hair, right? Which will look like your average, everyday, so-called Negro, which that's what they're afraid of, because even the chariots, which scientists have seen, they seen that they were so-called Negro-featured people in what they call UFOs or UAPs, which that is what the Lord is coming back in, which shows you that in Ezekiel. It says that the angel's visage was as coal. Coal is dark, which people would say black, right? And So these are the times that we're living in, right? And it says, yeah, and yeah, but so he covered the faces of the judges thereof, right? And the greatest judge is who? Yahweh Shai, right? So if you would do that to Yahweh Shai, who is the son of the power, who is the is the true ruler of this world, who's actually coming back to take the rulership of his world, right? Right? He's the creator of the world and the ruler of it. So he's coming back to get what belongs to him, right? And he is the greatest judge, right? Right along with the Israelites, which, by default, of course, we're great judges too, because he gave us the law, statutes, and commandments. But since we didn't keep them, we went into slavery under the devil, under his sword, right? And he's afflicted us, he destroyed us, he's put us under decay, right? We have lost our strength, put us in the ghettos, the vadios, the reservations, and he covered the faces of the judges thereof. If not, and who is he? Who have made this dark-skinned man, who is the son of the power, look like a so-called white man? If it ain't the self-proclaimed so-called white man, which is Esau, Edom, who else is it? The whole earth is in the hands of the wicked, right? Right? The rulers, the aristocrats, the billionaires, the trillionaires, the world bankers, the ones who make all the things, the ones who control the military. Who's controlling the military? Who's controlling the thing? The Disney, the Washington, well, of course, Washington, right? Because he just did that. And not to mention Hollywood and all the different, the NBA, most of the NBA, the NFL, all controlled by what Jewish people, Edomite, so-called self-proclaimed white people, right? And that is the wicked, and it's in their hands of the wicked, and the power blinded the eyes of the judges. Right. Oh, that's beautiful. That's a good precept, bro. That is a nice precept, the NLT. And the power, right? Yeah, because the Most High had us where we didn't know that we were the judges. We didn't know we were the Israelites. And the power blinded the eyes of the judges, right? The Israelites, you so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Indians. And if not, oh no, this would be the power, right? Because this is well, the Most High did it too, but also Esau is the power of this world. He's the God of this world. Salakia. And because basically it should say the God of this world blinded the eyes of the judges, right? Because that's what it should say. Because that's what it is. Esau's the God of this world. But the Most High gave him the ability to blind us. Let's put it that way, to qualify it, Salakia. Right? Blinded the eyes of the judges, if not the one who, if he's not the one who does it, who is it? Who does it? Or who is it? Right. I'm not saying does it, or who does it, or who is, right? It's like I'm not saying that, but yeah, right. So who else did that, right? Because it said that he came out and deceived the whole world, right? Who else deceived the whole world and blinded the world and made the world think that he was a Christian and he cared about values and this and that. But when you see there's GMOs and there's this and there's that and there's pollution in the air and there's goddamn homosexual frogs, and then they tell your young boys that they could cut off their private parts and take pills so they can grow breasts and everything's okay with them doing these things, and now they can make being poor a crime. Who else has done this thing, man? Right? Being poor is a crime. Right? So this is Malachi. Chapter 1, verse 2. The love, Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, love for Israel, for you so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Indians. See, even though the Lord is coming to punish us, he do love us, right? And that's basically what because when you hear that the sentiments that the Lord is going to destroy the righteous and the wicked of our people, you're like, dang, well, how could, what's going on, right? But this is all for the point of salvation, man. For the elect first, and then for all of Israel. And it says, I have loved you, saith Yahweh, yet ye say, wherein has thus loved us? Right? You feeling that? You feeling some type of way? You in the ghettos, the valios, the reservation, and now this devil's about to come down with great wrath, knowing that he had but a short time. But you don't know that. You just think he's just being racist, right? But you don't understand that he's your natural enemy from the womb, right? Right? And you haven't been taught the correct way in plantation Christianity, right? You don't know the condition of the battle, right? Because that's what this is. It's just a battle. It's part of the battle, right? Esau Edom is our evil twin brother, and he wants the blessing that belongs to us, and he's willing to do whatever it takes to keep it, right? Because he's ruling the world, right? The earth is given, we just read it, it's given to the hands of the wicked, but the Lord is going to take it back, to give it back to the righteous, to give it back to who it belonged to. And the Lord said he loved you, and I have always loved you, says Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. But you resort, really? Right? Resort, really? How have you loved us? Right? And that's how you feeling, right? And it says, and Yahweh Bashem Yahushai replies, this is how I showed my love for you. I loved your ancestor Jacob, right? Which is our father, our forefather. For I have loved. When you say where you love them, it says, was not Esau Jacob's brother, saith Yahweh, yet I loved Jacob. Right? Right? And it says that here it is. Let's go and reply. This is how I show my love for you. I love your relative, I love your ancestor Jacob, but I have rejected his brother Esau. Right? See, and that's ultimately why he's coming down with great wrath. A lot of you don't know that. You don't know why the self-proclaimed so-called white man is doing this. Right? He's ready to take over D.C., New York, Chicago, all these different places, putting in this martial law, putting it in place, because he's the Lord's sword, and he's getting ready to punish you for the Lord. But the Lord has him in derision. He has him in a trick bag. So why he's coming to go punish you, which it's legitimate. The Lord wants a lot of you Jakes to die, man, because you're a bad apple and you're never going to get right. So the only remedy for you is death. So the Lord's going to send his sword, Esau Edom, and it says his brother Esau now rejected his brother Esau, and the devastated his hills, right? Times when he ruled, when he was the Greek, right? And he ruled as Rome, but this is Rome 2.0, or this is Rome, the one with the deadly wound that was healed. This is Rome revised all over again. So his hills, countries, I turned Esau's habitations, right? When he ruled as the Greeks, then he came back as the Roman Greco Empire, right? Which you know that he was the same so-called Greeks, which really the Greeks go back to the Japhetic people, but they conquered them and took on that nationality, took on those terms of Greek. So we know that Greek is a term that you link up with Esau, right? The self-proclaimed so-called white man now, right? And that's what the Romans were. The Romans were Roman Greco. They were the Greeks, right? It was just a revised Greco Empire, which is Rome, which is the revised Roman Greco Empire, which is America, NATO, the EU, right? Canada, Australia, right? And the neighboring other places, Colombia and Puerto Rico and all these other places that have these Edomites. Even Mexico have an Edomite as their president. These little places that's in the world, but the main place is Babylon the Great, because that's their power system. That's where the world reserve currency is at. And it says and that's their inhabitants into deserts for jackals, and that's what's going to happen to America. America is going to be turned into a desert for jackals, right? And it says, and laid they mountains and heritage wastes for the dragons, right? And then you know what that is, dragons of the wilderness, lizards and things, that things that dwell in desert. And that's what's going to happen to America. ICBM missiles are going to hit this place and turn it into a desert, right? And this is the point right here. It says, whereas Esau saith, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus saith the Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakal of hosts, right, meaning armies, right? They shall build, right? And that's what it is. That's the revised Roman Empire, right? Well, one with the deadly wound that was healed, they shall build. They're going to return, and they built, and they did, right? Basically took over the entire world. The earth is given into the hands of the wicked. They covered the faces of the judges, right? And Esau's descendants in Edom, right, because that's their descendants, may say, we have been shattered, Slakia, but we will rebuild, right? We will rebuild the ruins, but Yahweh of heaven's armies, right? See, and his armies replies, they may try to rebuild, right? Which that's what and they did. They rebuilt this revised Roman Empire, which now is going to be digital, right? They go into the digital age of it because knowledge has increased. According to Daniel's 12, I will demolish them again. See, and that's what a lot of you ain't understanding. All this has to happen in order for the Lord to demolish this thing all over again, right? Their country, right? America, I'm proud to be an American, will be known as the land of wickedness. See, and that's what's going to happen. It's going to be, we're going to know like this is the place where the most wicked things happened and occurred, and it's going to be for a monument in the kingdom, for a memory, and their people will be called the people with whom Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakal Kodash, is forever angry, right? See, you don't understand that. Yeah, the Lord is going to have them kill the righteous and the wicked, but the Lord is forever angry with these people, with Esau, Edom. And it says, they shall build, but I will throw down, and they shall be called the border of wickedness, right? And that's what this place is. That's who they are. They're the border of wickedness. And that's how I said the wicked, which is thy sword, Lord. And that's what's coming for you. The Lord's sword, right? And it says, and their people, and the people against whom Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai Ba'ashem Rakal Kodash have an indignation forever, right? Yeah, so this is Isaiah chapter 66 verse 15. For behold, which means feast your eyes, look, pay attention, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai will come with fire and with chariots, what they call UFOs, UAPs, right? But also the Lord, it says he's the Lord of hosts. So hosts meaning armies. Even Esau is the Lord's army on the left hand side, right? And he has chariots, which are vehicles, just mean vehicles. They got tanks and things. So the Lord's going to move all sorts of things. The animals is part of the Lord's army, right? The elements, right? You have earthquakes, and they were almost about to have a tsunami. They was afraid when a big earthquake hit in Russia, which almost made it basically they were ready, prepared to see a tsunami. What could you do about it? There's nothing you could do against a tsunami. They had to just wait to see if it was going to hit or not, right? Showing you that the Most High is in power. Then the volcano erupted over there in Russia, right? And all why this is World War III is cooking up. They're getting ready to push the micro C hit, and then of course what we're talking about right here, Trump is closing in, right? And this is all really for what the Lord wants, right? with chariots like whirlwind to render his anger. See, the Lord's gonna have them troops have Esau come in to render his anger towards you so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Indians, because you're still worshiping other gods, false idols, all sorts of things. You don't want to come to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, right? Right? You've seen the Israelites. You know what it is. So So now the Lord's going to have Esau come down to render his anger and fury and his rebuke with flames of fire, right? Which ultimately is going to be the hypersonic ICBM missiles that's going to be fired upon this place. But also, has to qualify that, because it's talking about the missiles and the fire from the chariots. But also, you can use this as far as what the Lord is going to send Esau against you, right? It's really talking about the missiles. I'm qualifying it by saying it is the missiles, but it's also Esau coming against you, right? For by fire and by his what? Sword, right? Which is the hypersonic intercontinental ballistic missiles. But we know that Esau, which is the wicked, right? Which is the smith that bloweth the coals, right? Which was Teman, the Edomites created the ICBM missile, which is the Lord's sword on the left hand side. So it's all within there, right? Like the brother Thawala say, it's like ragu. It's all in there. Hey, it's all there. It says, "So will Yahweh plead with all flesh." See, and the Lord's going to plead, right? And that plead goes into judgment, technically, right? With all flesh, and the slain of Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai shall be many, right? Right? Just to know you that plead, meaning judge, right? Right there it says, and Yahweh will punish the world by fire, right? Which is the ICBM missiles, right? It's going to be fired upon each continent. That's why it's called continental ballistic missiles. Different continents is going to go and hit, right? By his sword, he will judge the earth, and many will be killed by him, right? So that's the ordinance of the Lord, of the Most High, Yahweh, right? Just so we can go into the transliteration and plead patath, yeah, shapat. I don't know how Esau said it.
Strong's H8199. Shaphat.
Yeah, Shapat. Shapat should be Shapat, right? It's just Shapat, but Shapat, which means judgment. Shapat, right? To judge, govern, vindicate, punish, right? To act as a lawgiver or judge, governor of God, man, right? So basically means to judge, right? As you can see, execute judgment, right? Basically that plead, Yahweh plead with all flesh is going to execute judgment to all flesh, right? And the slain of Yahweh shall be many. Yeah, many shall be killed by the Lord, ordained by the Most High. So that's what the Lord's going to do with Esau. And says, and they that sanctify themselves, right? You go to the different churches and you do your thing, or you say your spirituality and you're into Islam, you're into being Kemet, you're into all these different Buddha, Shiva, Santa Maria, all sorts of witchcraft and black magic and voodoo and gang banging and drug dealing and alphabet lifestyle, same sex origins of a lifestyle, right? And those are all things that's contrary to the Most High. And the Lord sent out the men to give you warning, because you could be forgiven of those sins. So the Lord's giving fair warning for you to turn back from those things, even a thing like homosexuality, which is a sin unto death. But the Lord is still saying, hey, look, come back from that, and even that He can forgive you for. It is heavy, the mercy that the Lord is ready to bestow upon you. And it's crazy. It is heavy, the mercy that the Lord wants to bestow upon you. But hey, people, they want to do their own thing. Hey, I want to get into some witchcraft, bro. I want to do what I want to do. You know? Yeah, I hear you. You know? Oh, the angels are black. Okay, we're good then. I guess I'm good since that ain't where the buck stops. It stops with you changing what's within yourself, right? Becoming a new creature, right? But you like to be sanctified. They sanctify themselves and purify themselves. So you think you get these crystals, which I mean, I'm pretty sure they help. There's some type of beneficial thing to the crystals and the different things, but then you're making them into pyramids, which we know that goes back to Egypt, right? Which that goes back into all these other different things, So you into a bunch of madness, and you purify themselves in the gardens, right, in America, because it's going to be a garden before it, but it's going to be a desolate wilderness behind it, and behind one tree, in the midst, eating swine's flesh. So a lot of you're eating shrimp, crab, lobster, pork, right? Because according to the dietary laws, you can't. Because people are like, I don't eat pork. I'm Islam. I'm a Muslim, right? Well, you can't eat shrimp, crab, lobster. Those are things you're not supposed to eat too, according to the dietary law, according to the Most High, not according to your ideology and what you think that you have free will. Because there's no free will when you just give yourself over into lasciviousness, and you are going to die. The Lord said, in eating swine's flesh and abominations and mouses and the mouse, right? So who knows when you like to eat these Chinese places and you go eat what's that shit? You think you're eating orange chicken and that orange chicken is mouse. It's really mouse. It's a mouse. So you're doing all sorts of things. Shall be consumed together, saith Yahweh. Yeah. So, hey, and that's the time that you're living in, because not to mention, it ain't just talking about actual swine and actual mount. The philosophies that you consume, you eat, right? Because you are what you eat, and that deals with your also your mentality, what you consume, right? Because those are ways that you eat, right? Because it's a thing. Yeah, you consume material or things that's in your atmosphere, and those are things that you eat, right? Dealing with a philosophy. That's why the Lord likens the scriptures unto meat and bread and wine, right? Because these are things that you eat. Food for thought, right? That's what I want to say. Food for thought, right? And it says, for I know their works and their thoughts, right? See, that it shall come that I will gather all nations, right, to World War III, and tongues, and shall consume, and they shall come and see my glory, right? Right, and I will set a sign, right, for World War III among them, and I will send those that escape of them unto the nations of Tarshish, Slakia, Paul and Lud, and that draw the bow, right, was dealing with World War III. Drawing the bow is talking about having nuclear missiles, right? Because a nuke is also known as what? An arrow, right? So this is setting up for World War III, and that's all going to bring, World War III is going to bring the Lord's glory to him, right? That bend the bow and Tubal and Javan to the isles afar off, that have not heard my fame, nor have seen my glory, and they shall declare my glory among the Gentiles, right? So the Israelite foreigners, the Israelites that's around the world who probably never got a chance to really get in tune with the gospel, so to speak. But here in America, you've all had a chance, and that's what the Lord is going to do. He's going to turn this into a desert. He's going to kill a lot of you Israelites who's into plantation Christianity, right? Because that's what you do. You clean. You think you're purifying yourself in the groves or in the things, going to these harlot houses, which are churches, right? And when the Lord sent forth these nuclear missiles in World War III, it's going to bring forth what? A new heaven. See, this is why you don't listen to plantation Christianity that tell you that the Old Testament is done away. Watch, so I'm going to show you that the Old Testament is not done away. As for the new heavens and new earth, showing you that once the missiles get to flying, and this is in what they call the Old Testament, which they try to tell you is done away with. Well, this is talking about what it speaks about in Revelations, which is the last book, showing you that the Old Testament is not done away with. So, as for the new heavens and the new earth, which I will make, shall remain before me, saith Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, so shall your seed and your name remain, right? Being what? Yasha'Allah, right? Basically talking about the Israelites, right? You so-called Black, Hispanic, and Indians are really actually Israelites. And it shall come to pass that from one new moon, right, bringing back the Sabbath the correct way, showing you that the Sabbath starts in from the new moon, right? From one new moon to the other, and from one Sabbath, right, which is telling you that the new moon starts the Sabbath, and from one Sabbath to another, and it's giving that in itself is giving you the definition of it. Shall all flesh come and worship before me, saith Yahweh, right? And the Lord's going to set up the Sabbath the way it's meant to be set up all over again, the way it was meant to be from the beginning, right? And you're going to know when the Sabbath is, right? Which we already know, but it's going to be reiterated, obviously, right? And it says, and they shall go forth and look upon the carcasses. See, and this is what's going to happen. A lot of you so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Indians that's here in America, your carcasses is going to stay here. And then you're going to come back as children in the kingdom, and we're going to fly over America in the chariots, what they call UFOs, and you're going to be able to see these carcasses, which it's going to be your old body, your old life, right? Go forth and look upon the carcasses of the men that transgress against me, right, here in Babylon the Great, in America. For their worm shall not die, neither shall their fire be quenched, and they shall be abhorring unto all flesh. So once we're in the kingdom, this place is going to be a monument, a thing to be remembered, to say this is the people, all the wicked people who didn't want to obey the Lord, right? And so this is 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 5. It says, and spare not the old world, but save Noah, the 8th person, right? So the Lord saved Noah, right, and 7 other people, but the main person was Noah, the 8th person, right, that got saved, right? A preacher, right? See, and that's what we do. We have to prophesy, right? To be a preacher, because that's the same thing what a preacher means. It means a prophet. So we're doing good works. So the Lord's here to save the ones who's actually doing the right work with the right belief system. You're not doing whatever you want to do, right? You're thinking you're sanctifying yourself by something, and you're not, right? Of righteousness, bringing in the flood. See, and that's that's ultimately what's happening now. The prophets are out there, and it's actually bringing in the flood, but this flood is going to be fire, ICBM missiles, right? Bringing in the flood upon the world of the ungodly. And seeing this place, America, Babylon the Great, is definitely ungodly. And turning the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah into ashes, consumed them with an overthrow, making them an example. Seeing that Sodom and Gomorrah was supposed to be an example, right? The way the Lord scorched that land of Sodom and Gomorrah to even this very day. You can look it up on YouTube. Sodom and Gomorrah, scientists have went into that land right where they know where it's at, and nothing can grow. It's almost like a purple, powdery thing. Like it can't grow anything, right? And it says, but that was for an example of a place that should, if they ever should live ungodly. And what is this place now? Spiritually, Sodom and Egypt, America, which is Sodom and Egypt. This place is filled with sodomites. And so they did not take heed of that example. So what do you think is going to happen in America? And then a lot of you women, especially you so-called black women, you were complicit to that, right? So what do you think what's going to happen to you, right? Unto those that after should live ungodly. See, and now this is well after the time of Sodom and Gomorrah and what's going on in America, a bunch of sodomy, and that's what happened to them. So guess what has to happen to this place? And deliver just Lot, vexed with the filthy conversation of the wicked. So the elect going to have to get delivered. So even though the righteous and the wicked are going to be destroyed, or things are going to happen, some of the righteous are not going to die, right? But some are going to be killed, right? Yeah, so it says, Revelation chapter 13, verse 13, he doeth great wonders. He did astounding miracles, right? Because you got the, the invention of the car, the invention of the TV, the invention of the plane, right? The first, the second, the third industrial system, right? And during that time, of World War I, World War II, those are things like miracles, man. Having planes and flying, and even with that, he take his miracle as being able to fly, and it says so that he maketh fire to come down from heaven. So he used that plane to drop the fat boy and little man over in Japan, right? It says even maketh fire flash down to the earth from the sky while everyone watch, and dealing with the time of television, right? Or even film, right? Because there was a time that where everywhere in the world wouldn't have been able to see that, but because of film, people were able to see it, right? Even to this very day, you could watch the old World War I, World War II films that they filmed at that time, and that was like a miracle, right? So everybody in the world, some people heard about it, but then later on, you were able to watch it, and not that many people had TVs, but a lot of times, your first time ever watching a TV will be like at a school, because the school got federal funding, so you'll watch it at school, things like that. That was like a miracle. People were in awe at this time over these so-called inventions. But then, of course, you have the fourth industrial, which that's what they're doing now, and deceiveth them that dwell upon the earth, right? Telling them you're a Christian, you have Christian morals and values and this and that, so on and so forth. You're the you wish, you're the Native American, you're the Aborigine, you're the Australian, you're all these different things, but you're not saying that you're the Edomite, right? Somehow, right? And of course, like I said, Daniel 12 telling you that in the end, knowledge shall increase. So now you're having computers and 747 jets. So it's not just just private planes or military planes. Now you're making it where the planes are commercial. People can go on trips. Things are going to and fro, right? Showing you that we're in that time, right? But yeah. And maketh them that dwell, and deceive them that dwell on earth by the means of those miracles, right? Which he had the power to do in the sight of the beast, right? Which is NATO, right? The EU, right? The European so-called Union, right? Right along with America, to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image of the beast, going back into the Roman Empire, right? And a lot of people have done that. They have that system. They adopted that system where you have a Senate, House of Representative, a Congress, right? Which they had, and I mean, and then because that's what made them diverse from all the rest. And then you have a so-called voted person in, which really they're not voting them in, right? So you have a at the time you had plebeian and patricians. Now you had a Democrat, Republican. You had a Caesar, right? And now you have a president or a prime minister. So these are the things that made people do do like unto the beast, to the image of the beast, right? And it says, and with all the miracles he was allowed to perform, right, to be on behalf, right? See, on behalf of the beast. See, and that's what he was able to do, because really, America's still connected to Europe, to England. It's really just a providence of England, but it's the face of this thing because of the military, right? And they were able to do it on behalf of the beast, right, of England, and deceive all the people who belong to this world, right? See, and a lot of people that belong to this world, they're all deceived. They believe in plantation Christianity, and that's by one way that they deceive you. Now they could change the image of the sun from a dark-skinned man to a so-called white man, and all of you believe it, even when the truth is coming out. Even people who look like the people of the Bible don't believe it, man. Hey, that's a hell of a deception, bro. Right? And it says he ordered the people to make great statues of the first beast, whose fatal wound was fatally wounded, and then came back to life, right, through the Roman Greco Empire, like I was saying before, and then to them that dwell upon the earth, that they should make an image of the beast, which is the Roman Greco Empire, which had the wound by the sword and did live, right? So that's what it is, right? And try to get to my point right here. It says, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak, and right, going into the fourth industrial thing with AI and this metaverse and all these different things. They this Palantir, this Hapsir, right, which is gonna completely put you under surveillance, right? Their gospel, Hapsir, right? Esau's Hapsir, his gospel, and it's gonna speak, right? That AI is gonna speak, right? And it's gonna be and cause as many as would not worship, because the Lord says he's going to kill some of the righteous and the wicked. So a lot of you wicked who still worship Christianity and Islam and Buddha and whatever else you're doing, selling drugs, gang banging, doing whatever, you're going to get put to death. But so are the righteous. But the righteous are going to die in a totally different manner. It says, and calls that as many as would not worship the beast, so they didn't get down with this system and righteousness, man. That the image of the beast that would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. See, and it says, let's keep on going. It says, and he was then permitted to give life unto the statue, right? Because they have statute, laws, ordinance, right? And that AI is going to be part of that laws, the statutes, the ordinance, right? Because it tells you that in I think it's Sirach 2, that they're gonna say let the law be our strength. So they're gonna pass law, the statutes, that it could speak, right, through AI. Then the statute of the beast commanded that anyone refusing to worship it must die, right? So that's showing you how the elect is going to die. The righteous is going to die. Yeah, so this is Revelation chapter 20, verse 4. Then I saw thrones, and the people sitting upon them had been given the authority to judge. See, that's dealing with the righteous. See, that's the difference between us, Lord willing, and be us, me too, Lord willing. Let's say it that way in humility. Truly, Lord willing, I'm part of that number. But you know, the ones that's righteous, and the 2/3, because you're not going to be given any authority to judge. And I saw the souls of those who had been beheaded, right? It's a different way of dying, being beheaded for the testimony about Yahweh Shai and for proclaiming the word of the Most High, Yahweh, right? And they had not worshipped, see, the beast or his statute, right? Dealing with that, the laws, the things according to AI, right? Because we're supposed to obey the laws, but part of that law of AI is to put the microchip within you, and we're not doing that, right? Statutes nor accepted his mark, right? Which that's dealing with the microchip, right? The charagma, grapho, right? Or it says mark on their forehead. Mark on their forehead or in their hand, right? The charagma, grapho in their forehead or in their hands, right? Right hand, left hand, not just. They all came to life, right? We're going to die, but we're going to come to life again, right? Like Yahushua did, right? Yahushua got born. He's the firstborn of the dead. See, and that's what's going to happen to the elect. And they reign with Hamashiach for 1,000 years. And that's what's going to happen, man. So it says, and I saw the thrones and they that sat upon them, and judgment and judgment was given unto them. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Yahushai, right? And for the word of power, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, and which had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, neither received his mark, charagma, grapho, upon their foreheads or in their hands. And they lived and reigned with Hamashiach, which is Yahushai, 1,000 years. So with all that, I want to give all praises and all honor and all glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Rakah HaKodash. I'd like to give double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well and do well, to the elder apostles, bishops in Connecticut, the bishops, the preachers, the teachers, the evangelists, and the four winds, preaching in truth and sincerity, risking your lives more now than ever, the hopeful elect, Shalom. To the Israelite foreigners who phenotype may look like another nation, but bloodline goes back to Israel through your father and have come back to the fold. Shalom to you sisters, your Akwathium, who listen and learn under your husband, which is your spiritual leader, with meekness and with silence, and above all, Kwam Yasharallah.